We're joined by the former royal butler and footman, Paul Burrell. Welcome. You know how to pronounce St. Lucia.
I've been there a few times. Yeah.
Oh, of course you have. I've not been.
That really helps.
So Paul is doing a live show called Royal Revelations. We can have a look at this. It's at, I'm going to say Cadogan Hall, but our producers called it Cadogan Hall.
No, it's Cadogan.
No, it's Cadogan.
Well, I mean, Arabella's never wrong.
She's wrong on this one.
What do you go on it?
Cadogan.
Okay.
I'd say
It is Cadogan.
So,
It is
St.
Cadogan.
Lucia, Cadogan, anyone else want to check? Okay, it's the 14th of September. I know it's going to be fascinating to hear you speak about stories behind palace walls.
One night only. One night only. Oh.
All right.
I'll have fun embracing an audience because I don't usually get to do that.
No.
I don't usually get to have that rapport with people and listen to what they think.
Yeah. Are you going to be dispelling any myths?
Perhaps.
Well,
I'm sure I will.
I mean, are there things where you go inside the royal arena and you think, that's not what I thought it was going to be, and nor is that?
Well, really, I think people out there now think that the crown is the benchmark.
Absolutely.
As to how the royals are behind closed doors.
Yes.
And I can tell you, it's not true. Because that is a dramatisation, and it's a fictional dramatisation of what happens in a movie world. That's not what happens.
It's funny that, because I've gone with that, because automatically I start to think everything in The Crown is true. And my mum was I got my mum Netflix. I said, look, it's time for you to start watching more TV. And she had a busy life. And first thing she watched of The Crown, she said, I'm never watching Netflix again. Because she thinks it was unfair to Princess Margaret. That was her big thing.
Wow. Well, it was unfair to most of them, actually.
And she'll never watch Netflix again.
Poor Princess Margaret. Well, it was unfair to the Queen.
And Philip,
And Philip, and Diana, and Charles.
Is there anybody that it wasn't unfair to?
No.
Quite. That's
The thing when the so-called jump the shark when they had Diana's ghost in, and I thought of you when I saw that. I thought you won't appreciate that.
No, I didn't. And I think now for the generation that are growing up, who were never alive when Diana was alive, or now when the Queen was alive, people are being born now that they take that as a historical document. It's not.
No.
It's not true. The Queen was the kindest, warmest, most generous woman I've ever met.
Yeah.
And she was my surrogate mother. For 11 years, I stood beside her, and she told me how to pronounce St. Lucia.
St. Lucia. But also, I remember, not to go back into an ancient court case involving belongings from the palace. And
Yes.
But the Queen, you said, the Queen came through for me.
Yes, she
I
did.
remember you said that.
I was sat there in the #1 court at the Old Bailey, being accused of stealing items from the royal family, and knowing that I'd told the Queen what I was doing.
Yeah.
I was protecting Diana's legacy, keeping it safe, because it was being changed all around me. And when she came through as a virtual witness for me, I thought, wow, that's incredible. The first time a British monarch had ever intervened in a criminal court case.
That's right, because you
And she
can't
saved
have
me.
the Crown versus
No.
somebody who then has the Crown giving evidence on his behalf. The whole system blew up.
Yes, it did.
It was a that was a really amazing case, wasn't it? Actually,
It was an amazing situation. Yeah. I can only assume that there was a huge amount of discussion before she did it.
Yes.
Let me ask you about your book, because it's going to be
Yes.
called The Royal Insider. Comes out in September. I don't know whether William and Harry like you writing about things. I don't know what they say about it.
Well...
Does it matter?
I suppose we'll find out.
Yeah.
But this book, Jeremy, is about my journey. It's not about their journey. It's not about Diana's journey or the Queen's journey, although they're in it, because it's about me. It's about how I coped with situations in my life and how they inspired me, how they encouraged me, and mainly how they kept me safe.
Yeah.
Because the Queen did. She did keep me safe on so many occasions. And it's fascinating, really, to get an insight into a world of our monarch, who is also a wife and a mother, who cared about people. And she really cared about the people who looked after her. And I was one of those lucky people.
The key question, I guess, that's on all of our minds is what Diana would make of this Harry situation.
Oh, Jeremy, she would be devastated. she would be devastated. Her boys were equal in her eyes, and Harry's job was to be wingman for his brother, to stay with him on his path to monarchy, to be there as a support and his mainstay. And now he's not there? Well, I suppose he has Catherine now to help him along the way, but Diana would be devastated.
But the stuff I read in Spare, the Harry book, was that they actually ended up fighting. Someone grabbed somebody's pendant.
Well, Jeremy, Harry was born into this very privileged lifestyle as a royal prince. He always knew the rules from day one. He knew what he should say and what he shouldn't say. But all that's gone now.
But is it not the case that Harry, here's me, the punk psychologist, is running the life, he's running a script that would have saved his mother's life.
Yeah.
So if she'd given the whole royal system a rude hand signal and gone off to another country, she'd be alive today.
Yeah.
And he's done exactly that.
Yes, but Jeremy, I'm a divorced man with 2 boys. I take great care of my wife. And if Charles had done that with Diana, she'd still be here today.
Oh.
Oh, no, I think that's too harsh.
You think that's too
Yeah,
harsh?
I mean, why did Diana die? She died because there was a drunken driver. She wasn't wearing a seatbelt.
No palace security.
Only survivor of that crash was wearing a seatbelt.
She shouldn't have been there, Anne.
Yeah,
She shouldn't
maybe,
have been in Paris.
Maybe she shouldn't have been in Paris, but she was. She went there voluntarily. She was having an affair with Dodi Fayed, and they
Charles
got
was
into.
having
And
an
they
affair
got.
with
Yeah,
Camilla Parker Bowles.
I haven't. I'm just observing a fact.
Yes.
I'm just observing a fact.
I know, but isn't that
You're
like
trying
saying-
to say
Yeah.
it wasn't her fault. She contributed to what happened.
Yes,
Doesn't make it any less tragic, but she nevertheless
I
played
hear
a
you,
role.
but isn't that like saying the reason Sylvia Plath died is because she put her head in an oven? And actually, it's much bigger than that. It's bigger than that for Diana. And I still have people ringing who
when
are
you
upset
say
with Charles.
things like, you know, she would be here to this day. You know, the circumstances that contributed to her not being here today.
The immediate circumstances.
The immediate
The
circumstances.
context in which she made those decisions was created through her marriage. And I do feel, I don't really want to even say that she would have been here today. What I do feel is that there's a responsibility that the mother of your children, you still look after them regardless of whether you're in a relationship or not. And I don't think
exactly.
he did that.
You think so? Yeah.
I think that too. She was the jewel in our crown, and we didn't protect her and didn't take care of her enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
We should have done that. Now
right.
we have Catherine. She is the jewel in our crown now, and we should take great care of her because everything hinges on her.
What about Meghan? Could she be like a number 2?
No, absolutely
No.
not.
And
no.
that's where we don't align. So I think it's about, if you say that this is the royal family and you look after your family, the concerns that Harry raised about his family and the experience that he went through, it was a great opportunity for the royal family to showcase their increasing capacity and their evolution and taking care of the people in that family, and they didn't.
But then don't go to America, use your
Exactly.
title as a
These
commercial
are things
vehicle.
Exactly.
after the fact.
Exactly.
In the moment of it happening, as you just said, you
Yes.
gave an exact example of what happened to Diana because of the context she was in. The context that Harry and Meghan were put into created their choices. Whether you agree with them or not,
but
but
this
if they
is
were looked
different.
after, that wouldn't happen.
This is different, is it? Yeah.
This is different because Harry, by doing the Oprah Winfrey show and pressing that racist button, which actually never existed.
A racist button.
Yeah,
but
that's fair. That's fair phrasing, isn't it? I mean, he accused them of racism.
He accused the royal family of racism. I know the royal family. I worked with them for 21 years. I know that the Queen's greatest achievement in her lifetime was her Commonwealth of Countries.
Okay.
She
My
embraced
invitation
And they all
Marvin,
Marvin.
Very, very
They all
quickly.
welcome
My
let's
invitation-
hang on. Let's hear Marvin's response
Yes,
to
my invitation is a incident that is a racial observation doesn't make you a racist, right? And so he said he experienced something where race was called into question, and we're completely dismissing it because it's like it's impossible
No,
for them
we're
to be
not.
racist.
Yeah.
I don't even think that they're sitting here believing in that. But at the same point, he's right to say that and to, as Jeremy said, protect his family family by doing what he feels necessary,
Well,
which wasn't done
I think he
historically.
did.
I think both
he
he
did
and
hit the
Meghan
race
knew
button.
exactly what they were doing.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think that was a
Very
vehicle
well.
for them.
Certainly,
We're gonna have to
Meghan did.
respectfully
We all have to
disagree.
go. We're going to have to go and see Paul's talk, okay? Basically, and then he'll also pronounce St. Lucia correctly. St. Lucia. Why did I go there? Tickets are available now for Paul Burrell's show. There it is, Royal Revelations, live at Cadogan Hall. No, Cadogan Hall. I'm kidding you. Everyone settle down. In London on the 14th of September. We'll have a few more stories from the papers, Paul, if we can trouble you with them. Oh, what have we got, Marvin, in the Express? Farage, I would rule with not... We've got Kings coming up again. I would rule with non-MPs.
So this story is really scary because it sounds like Farage would like to mirror a US system where he brings in his friends and business leaders to run a country which is a publicly funded entity like a private business.
Yeah, but hang on. Anne is going to be Chancellor in Farage's
Yes.
next
I'm jolly well
And
not.
You are. You've
I
got
am
another
not.
cabinet job in you.
I am absolutely not going to be
special
Chancellor, I
advisor.
can tell you.
All of
I
his
can tell
friends
you
will
what.
have jobs, and all of them will become significantly richer as a result, just like in the US. And it's actually quite painful that he's saying it so loud, so early, before he's even
Well,
elected.
let's bring his teammate in.
Yeah, thank you. Can we just be serious about this for a
We've
moment?
been serious for the last half hour.
Well, I didn't think that was a terribly serious contribution, but anyway. First of all, you said there that he said I'd rule with non-MPs. No, that is the headline. I've had that done to me so often in my life.
All right.
Well, so he didn't say that. He hasn't got a king complex. That's a load of rubbish.
I think he does a little bit.
And as far as appointing people who are not MPs, what successive governments throughout my political lifetime have done is move people into the Lords and where they wanted particular expertise. And there is no reason why you shouldn't be in the cabinet if you're in the Lords. So it's not a new concept, this idea of having outside expertise.
Gordon Brown had something called a GOAT, a government of all the talents.
Well, he made a
would
mess of
you
it.
serve with a Farage government?
Oh my goodness, you've asked the wrong person.
Yeah.
Because I don't know very much about politics, and Anne and I were talking in the green room, and I made an absolute faux pas by saying, how could a man like that possibly run our country?
Oh dear. So you
And
didn't
it's her
quite
desire.
realise Anne's one
Dear, I didn't realise.
on the squad. Yeah. She's on the.
I do apologise.
We thought
Anne.
better of you,
right.
Anne, that's why.
What is said in the green room
Okay.
should stay in
Oh,
the green
I see.
room.
Well, you should have told me that.
In the Express, Paul, you have a story. This is non-political. Meghan slammed for tone-deaf wine launch because she's done it on the Princess Diana's birthday.
Well, isn't this very sad that she should bring out her wine on the princess's birthday when she was killed in a road traffic accident, actually induced by, caused by a man who was inebriated?
I hadn't made that connection. I just thought maybe stay away from the birthday. But that, yes, I suppose you're right.
Well,
But
the two
obviously,
together.
Obviously, Harry didn't object, did he?
Well, but it's a great commercial date to launch something. So it's the princess's birthday. So I don't think Meghan and Harry thought very much about it. So they went ahead and did it.
Yeah.
In memory
I
of the
believe it's in
princess.
anticipation for July 4th in the US.
No,
but
why
it's
couldn't
still,
they
it's
have?
still
Why couldn't they have
absent-minded.
chosen a different day?
It's definitely absent-minded. It doesn't look great. For
Wow. I'm surprised you say that.
I'm rounded, unlike some.
Wow. Okay. I didn't think you were going to come. I think there's two things here. As you say, Paul, it's not just the birthday. It's the fact that a drunk driver essentially killed Diana. And in the Mail, women over 50 are now embracing something called midlife glow. And I've seen that you're doing this.
Well, it comes to not much more when you read it than making bucket lists, which has gone on for donkey's years. There's nothing unusual about that. But apparently 3/4 of women over the age of 50 now see this period of their lives as a midlife glow.
And what's changed then, do you think, since people were 50 in, let's say, the 1970s? What's a 50-year-old woman now? What do you see being different about her?
Well, in the 1970s, if you were a 50-year-old woman, you were almost certainly a mother and wife. And you probably didn't have the career. And I mean, that is just a fact.
Yeah, but you'd also, my grandmother, when she was 58, looked like a very, very old woman.
My granny, when she was 60,
Yeah.
she had white hair and a pinafore.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm 60 now. I mean, it's incredible.
Cheer up, I'm 77.
Well, there we are. You've got some spring in your step. Isn't it weird, Paul? People are really... I think partly... You've got very good teeth, by the way. I think teeth are a big thing.
Yeah.
People let them fall out 50 years ago.
Now, I think the maintenance... I'm younger than you, guys, slightly. And I do think that the generations have maintained youth for longer.
Yeah.
I do remember my gran also, and I just felt like in my whole life, she looked older. My whole
Having
life.
said that, my granny was as slim as a pin because she'd been through rationing and so on. We're not necessarily as thin as we were.
Well, nothing like.
I'm not.
No, we're not as slim as we used to.
I'm not bringing you in. But that is a change.
Did, though.
That's a change that's different in
but
the
I've
other
been
direction.
on hormone treatment. So for my cancer, so that
yes,
that
I know.
puts
Yeah, I
on
know.
weight.
Yeah.
So now.
Oh yeah,
I
listen.
have
There's all kinds of
more to me than ever before.
We're definitely a bigger nation than we were historically. That is 100% a thing.
But I think we have more get up and go now. And so
Yes,
the
that's
older you get, and if you've been through a life-changing crisis, you look towards the future and then compile a list of things that you want to do before your time's up.
Yeah.
And I do. I want to see my grandson grow. I want to love him and see him grow for as long as I can.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to see you so well and in such great form, Paul. Tickets available now for Paul's show, Royal Revelations, live at Cadogan Hall in London on the 14th of September. Do come and see the great man speak. In a moment, Alexis will be joining us. There's another dive-bombing buzzard incident. Find out where...